Alzheimer's dementia causes neurons throughout the brain to shrink and die. This eventually causes cognitive memory loss and an inability to function. It is most common in adults over the age of 65, but it has been seen as early as the age of 30. There are currently 6.7 million Americans suffering from this disease, and that number is predicted to double over the next 30 years. Alzheimer's is passed down genetically and is classified as an autosomal dominant trait, meaning that if someone has a family history of Alzheimer's, it is likely they also have the gene. The beta amyloid protein on chromosome 21 is associated with Alzheimer's, and if someone were to have this, it is more likely they will suffer from Alzheimer's dementia in their old age.
Though numerous genes have been found to correlate with increased risk of developing Alzheimer's disease, 23andMe tests only for the E4 variant of the APOE gene on chromosome 19. APOE stands for a polypoprotein, a gene that manufactures a protein which links with fats to become a lipoprotein. One of its primary functions is to remove cholesterol from the bloodstream. It can be found in many different cell types, such as in the brain, skin, and liver. The APOE gene can have 4 variants: E1, E2, E3, and E4. The E3 variant is the most common and is considered the normal allele. All can come in the form of CC, CT, or TT. The CC alleles of the E4 variant have been found to significantly increase the risk of Alzheimer's disease by nearly 12-fold by reducing the functionality of the protein, whereas E2 and E3 variants with TT alleles are actually slightly resistant to developing the disease. More research ought to be conducted on E1 and E2 variants to see what impact mutations may have.
Benefits of our test compared to 23andMe are that we test for just more than one variant of a specific gene, whereas 23andMe only tests for the E4 variant of the APOE gene. Our test gives a more comprehensive way of determining probability for Alzheimer's disease because we look at other variants of the APOE gene that also plays a big role into determining whether or not a person will develop Alzheimer's at a later age. One specific SNP that we decided to look at that is very important to consider is the RS145999-145 SNP. This particular SNP doubles the risk of developing Alzheimer's, which is not looked at by 23andMe, and that's why our test gives a more sure and probable way of determining whether or not a person is likely to develop Alzheimer's later on in their life.
Limitations of our test. While we test for more than one variant of the gene, unlike 23andMe, this does not guarantee that our test will be able to pick up on unknown alleles. There are nearly 20 genes that are known to contribute to Alzheimer's development. However, our main focus is on the APOE gene. Considering not all genetic variants are equal in terms of their impact on the trait, we cannot guarantee one of the various genes aside from APOE doesn't additionally have a large impact as a result of the human knowledge of the genome still being incomplete. Scientists in our test are aware of genetic variants that are associated with Alzheimer's. However, there are many that are still unknown, unfortunately. What this means is that even if someone tests negative for the APOE gene, they can still test positive for another genetic variant. Finally, the main limitation of our test is that there is a current gap of knowledge about genetic testing for late-set Alzheimer's. Therefore, our test is only indicative of early-onset Alzheimer's. For example, our test is not capable of detecting the TREM2 RS75932628 variant, as it is a late-onset SNP.
Some ethical considerations that we came up with were that testing positive for Alzheimer's could result in an unnecessary or untimely loss of hope. There could also be great financial stress and strain for future tests and treatments, leading to other side effects such as depression or other mental health issues. There can also be an increased stress in family members, emotionally and financially, as nowadays medical treatments are costing more than they used to, and emotionally as in family members having to take care of their family members that have Alzheimer's later on, and it just becomes a whole ordeal for the family.